Today, I want to speak very openly and very honestly and share with you about the most important thing in my life. The funny thing about it is none of you have any idea what it is, unless you're one of my close friends. Okay. So that's today's topic. Before that, what have I been up to? It has been a 6-month hiatus from podcast. We are very much back. And just off the bat, since people have been asking, things have been great over the last 6 months. It's been like this just period of tremendous personal, professional, spiritual growth for me. And I'm sorry I haven't been sharing it online, but hopefully we'll be making up for that going forward. And yeah, things have been incredible. The business is making more money than it ever has. And I've been really just like trying to take my own advice. And I talked about this on previous podcast episodes, this idea of, taking your own advice. And for me, that was doubling down, working with some of my best clients. And yeah, I've been working closely with like 35 amazing people, past clients in a mentorship capacity for the last 6 months, doing a lot of deep personal work. And we'll talk about all that stuff. But all that work has been leading up to the video that I'm going to share with you today. So yeah, like I mentioned, I'm going to be speaking openly and honestly about the most important thing in my life that none of you know what it is. All right. The most important thing about me, I'm getting right into it, that very, very few people know is I am a person in long-term recovery. What that means for me is I have been clean off of drugs, off of alcohol, off of any substances, mood, mind altering since June 26th, 2011. If you're counting days, that's 4,733 days. Also, 12 years, 11 months, 14 days as of the time of recording this. And this may come as a surprise to you, but this is the most important thing in my life. And I have been keeping it very, very quiet. I do not speak about it publicly. If you're in my inner circle, close friends, family, everyone knows. It's not a secret if you're in my life. But I'm coming upon this time where I do not think I could possibly move forward in entrepreneurship and in business, and continue to grow if I didn't start sharing openly about who I am, how I got here, and what I'm doing now. So that's what this is about. I've been in long-term recovery from addiction for almost 13 years. June 26. If I keep doing what I'm doing, it will be my 13-year anniversary. I'm an active participant in an incredible, incredible recovery community that helps people to get and stay clean. The work that I do there in my recovery is the foundation and operating system behind everything that I do. I really attribute it to all the success that I've had in life, in relationships, in work, in business, in my personal life. That is the underlying level behind all of it. And yeah, all the closest people in my life are in recovery or know I'm in recovery, but I have not ever spoke about this publicly. And there are a lot of reasons for that. There's a stigma, or there has been in the past, associated with people that use drugs or did use drugs. Many of them are illegal. Also, it's just something that's like incredibly, incredibly important and special to me. And I told myself, this was the lie that I told myself, that I didn't want to monetize something that was so special to me. And the great irony of that is really that I was just throttling my true self, right? The thing that makes me who I am, I was like, oh, well, let me just not tell anyone about this for all those reasons, right? So that was a cop-out. And yeah, if I want to get to the next level in my life, this needs to happen. So what I'm going to do is share a little bit about my story, how I got into recovery, what my addiction looked like, and then maybe just try to connect it to where I am now and maybe where you are now. All right. So yeah, let's set the stage. Growing up, I grew up outside of Philadelphia with pretty much every advantage. Whole family, parents are together, upper middle class, everything you could want. But the disease of addiction definitely runs in my family. Multiple folks. Yeah. On paper, I had everything going for me. Straight A student, going to a top college, but underneath all this, I always felt like I had this thing inside that was missing. That like when, I don't know, when everyone got their hardware installed, everyone got like an extra microchip that I was missing or something. Like everyone had this skill for coping with life that I just didn't have. At least that's how I felt. And yeah, around the age of like maybe 15, I found the answer that I was looking for. I used for the first time, and I remember it vividly. I could not forget it because I remember it happening, and my first thought being, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been missing. Problem solved. And then the next thought immediately after that was, yeah, if I just do this every day for the rest of my life, everything's going to be fine. And in hindsight, normal people don't think like that. And yeah, that's how it started for me. So from 15, 16 to the age of 21, I was a daily drug user, basically. Any drug you can think of, go down the list. I've probably done it. And during that time period, things steadily got worse. They started out very fun. Then they got very weird. And then they got very bad. And then they got even worse and very, very dark. Yeah, that's generally how that story goes. Yeah, so for me, started out like smoking weed, doing that type of stuff, transitioned to prescription pills, and then opioids, any kind I could get my hands on. At the end of the road, it looked like I couldn't go 8 hours without using. It's the first thing I did in the morning before I brushed my teeth. Hundreds of dollars a day spent on my habit. And yeah, the consequences started coming real quick. This whole thing was about a 6-year period. And yeah, you can like really ruin your life in 6 years, in case you're wondering. I was removed from school, financial consequences, could not keep a job. And these were not like complicated jobs, like working at a coffee shop. Relationships tanked, living back at home with my parents. And yeah, I've been in this world now for so long that I really believe with 100% conviction, if I didn't get clean when I did, with the fentanyl and just what's out there. And, I've just seen a lot of people go through this process and a lot of them didn't make it. Yeah, that I'd be dead now. Yeah, I believe that with 100% conviction. So that's what the end of the road would look like for me. Anyway, going back in time, final year before I got clean, I was really, really struggling to make it work. Maybe you have tried to stop using something, change a habit, make a big change in your life, but you're just resistant to it. For me, that was trying everything in my power to fix, manage, or control the using the drugs so that I could just make it happen. That looked like, I'll only use on the weekends, or I'll only use certain substances, or maybe after 5 p.m. or certain times or certain ways, right? All these different ways, like I was trying to make this happen. Trust me, I would not have made this video if I could make it happen. But the consequences just kept coming and kept getting worse. Financial consequences, relationship consequences, and perhaps even more significant, but I had less of an awareness of it at the time, were the spiritual consequences. And what I mean by that is, if you've ever been deep into any kind of addiction, it is really like a spiritual death. We all have this thing inside of us that like keeps us alive, that like, it's like the light inside of you, basically. I don't know how else to describe it. And yeah, I felt like that was gone. Full spiritual death. That was probably some of the worst. Yeah. And the good news for me is that I can't make it happen. Nothing worked. All those ideas that I tried to make continuing to use drugs happen were not working. And yeah, I got plenty of life preservers during that time. I ignored them all. Yeah. So they say when the pain gets great enough, we're finally willing to change. And yeah, for me, like a day showed up where I was in enough pain and something shifted. Yeah, the end of the road for me was sitting in the back of a car using, and I don't know why, but this voice came into my head that wasn't mine. Maybe it was my conscience. I don't really know, but this was the experience. And it said, this isn't working and you need to ask for help. And this was after plenty of other interventions where I just wasn't ready. And yeah, within a couple of days, maybe a day or two, I was hit with fresh consequences that made it clear that, yeah, it's help or consequences. And I was able to get bailed out and went into the unglamorous world of detox and treatment facilities. Yeah. And at this time, like, this was my first rodeo. I'd done treatment. It didn't stick. But yeah, at that time, I was ready. I was 21 and I sat in treatment for 28 days. And the biggest benefit that I think it gave me was the benefit of time and distance. Like distance from using, distance from my life, perspective on what had happened, and like just the littlest hint of a path forward. Yeah, and that was the last time I ever used. From there, I've been incredibly blessed to be part of a recovery community that has changed my life and basically like set the foundation for everything that I've been able to do in the world since I've been clean. It's literally the foundation for everything that I do now. If you're curious about that, yeah, you can shoot me an email or something, richwebster12@gmail.com. So that's the story. What has recovery given me? I guess is the next place to go. At this point, I'm 34. I've been clean 2 times longer than I've been using. And that's the greatest gift. Everything else that I do here is just icing on the cake. I don't wake up sick. I don't have to wake up like worried about getting money or getting drugs or dealing with all of the insanity that comes around with it. I don't have to live a spiritual death anymore. And if that was all that I got out of this journey, I would say it was worth it. I would do it again 100 times over. But yeah, I've gotten so much more. Yeah, my life today is like beyond my wildest dreams. And I say that without hesitation. I have a wife, I have friends, I have community, I have support, I have a relationship with my spirituality. I have this incredible business, and I have this opportunity to serve the world, share myself, work with clients, help them, all this stuff. And the crazy part is, like I talked about in the story, yeah, I thought that the first time I used drugs would give me everything I ever wanted. Like they had fixed that hole that I had. And ironically, in the end, drugs did give me everything that I ever wanted, just not in the way that I thought they would. Yeah. So for me, recovery, living in recovery is a daily practice. It's the perspective through which I see the world. It's how I interact with the world. And yeah, it's like made me the person that I am. This daily practice of just like not using one day at a time and stacking up all this time builds this well of conviction in yourself, or this conviction that I have in myself, and the self-esteem to go with it. And I really believe like this is the superpower that drives everything that I do. Yeah. So that's my story. Why am I talking about this right now? You've kept it hidden for 11 years. Why are we talking about this? I don't think that I could do the work that I'm meant to do in the next phase of my journey without speaking about this publicly. Yeah, it would just be too difficult. I've been working closely with a lot of my clients, more closer than I ever have for the last 6 months. And yeah, I just believe that like anything that scratches the surface of just like tactics in business, and ignores what's under the surface is ultimately a Band-Aid. And the next phase of my journey is going to look like going deeper into my work and how I can serve people and just like help people. And if I don't share this thing that powers everything that I do, it's going to be impossible. Yeah, I've noticed that like the more open that I am about who I am, it gives people permission to be more open about themselves. And that's like where the real work begins. So yeah, that's my story. It's now in the public record. So from here, if that resonates with you, I would love to know. You can just reply to any of the places where you can find me. But I want to talk now and maybe like connect this to what you might be going through or what you might be thinking about, and just speak a little bit about how this decision to like share openly and honestly about the most important thing in my life came about. And maybe it's something that you could take a look at in your own life or business and you might resonate with it. So I've been thinking about this idea of like work-life integration. Maybe a better word for it is just alignment. And I want to maybe showing this visually is going to be the way to do it. So let's see. Okay, work-life integration. Maybe we can look at it this way. So, and if you're listening to the podcast, I'll explain this, what I'm drawing. So this is my life. This is just all of my time, right? Is this rectangle here that I'm drawing. And for the longest time, the way that I had approached business was the business was just this tiny sliver over here, right? It's the lifestyle business, if you will. And the whole point of the lifestyle business was make as much money as possible, okay, in the least amount of time possible. And the reason for that is that this then feeds my life. Okay, so the business exists simply to feed my life. So it goes back and it's, you know, it's my family, it's my recovery, it's my hobbies, it's travel, it's music, right? All the things that I consider to be my life that are separate from the business lived over here. And yeah, there's this tremendous firewall, this big separation of church and state, if you will, between business and life. Okay, there's a big barrier here. And that's how I ran my business for the longest time. Okay, never the two shall meet. The business just serves the life. But as I've been alluding to, this has actually ended up creating a tremendous amount of pain. And there's this book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And the title's pretty self-explanatory. It's this idea that the things that serve you only serve you up until a certain point, and then they actively begin to hurt you. And I think that's what has started to happen here. And the shift is extremely subtle. The shift is just, here's the business. Okay. Here's life. All we need to do is just open this up. Okay. And let the barrier be a little bit more permeable. And maybe there is no barrier. And the beauty of this is what happens is your life can feed your business. Okay. Everything that makes you who you are, your hobbies, your family, your faith, your recovery story, if you're me, that pours into the business. And then the great thing is, the business serves the life as well. So your life serves your business and your business serves your life. And yeah, for me, like over in this life area, this huge piece is my recovery. It's my story, right? This was everything. This is like the operating system. And I was consciously building a barrier where I did not have access to this, right? There was no access to the most important thing to me, the thing where I draw all my strength from, all my wisdom from, just this daily practice where I have all the conviction and self-esteem about who I am as a person. No access to that. Okay, so one of the main reasons why I'm speaking about this right now is because I need to integrate the two. Okay, the life needs to feed the business and the business needs to feed the life, and they need to become one thing and they need to be aligned. Maybe you're feeling the same way. Maybe you feel like there's an area of your life that just is too separate from the business, or there's just wall up in between your business and your life. That's the journey that I've been on, and that's what I talk a little bit more about, but I hope the visual helps. Okay, I'm back. For the longest time, I was really just like not able to see the massive value in letting my recovery fuel my business and pour into my business. And I just like created this thing where just the business was just a tiny sliver of my life. And the whole point was make this sliver as small as possible, so I could make more money, work less on it, and then go and live my life, right? But by opening up that barrier, I've started to let my life feed the business and the business feed the life. And it turns out they're the same thing. And this just lets everything be much better because the recovery can fuel the business and the business can pour back into my life. And for the last 13 years almost, my recovery and my business journey have been running very much in parallel. Okay, so two lines running parallel to each other. And they're both happening at the same time, experiencing tremendous growth in both areas, but they're separate. And the tough thing is that separately, these things are not leveraged, right? There's no synergy, for lack of a better term. And there's just a massive cap to letting them run in parallel. They need to be together. They need to be combined. And a lot of this has just been me getting to the core of the value of who I really am. And I've been part of a really just like awesome community of 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. It's called Partners. If you're curious, it's run by my friend Blake LaGrange. You can look him up if you want. And, just having conversations with a lot of these folks really clued me in that I was missing out on something huge. And they've really encouraged me to open up and speak publicly about my story. And everything that I've been sharing with you is really just like a result of that. So super grateful for that. And yeah, for the longest time, I thought, oh, okay, the thing that makes me good at business is all of these things that I've done in the past, right? I built this design agency. It makes $500,000 a year, working 5 to 10 hours a week. Built this huge social media following, built this, successful course education business, all these things. I was like, oh, that's why I'm good at what I do. That's the value. That's why, I am who I am. And the lesson has been that the value has nothing to do with any of that stuff, right? The reason why I was able to do any of those things is because at a fundamental level, I've been in this daily practice of recovery for the last almost 13 years. Okay. And that's where the real value is for me. And yeah, there's just, I believe for everyone, there's this deeper reason why we're good at whatever we're good at. Okay. Like, I'm not good at business because I built this business, right? I'm good at business because I've been drawing on this experience, this life experience that I've had, and applying it to business, right? I've been sitting watching people go through this recovery journey, sharing like their most deepest, darkest secrets, getting super, super vulnerable. And like that just unlocks empathy, right? And then I'm applying that over here in my business. And I'm thinking, oh, the reason that I'm good at business is because of, this marketing or the sales funnel or whatever. That stuff's helpful, but the deep reason is because of the person that I am. And the lesson here is that the value is me. The value is you. It's not what you do, it's who you are. Okay? And this has all been just like coming to a head for me in the last 6 months. It's been like a crazy, crazy journey to get to this point and come to these understandings. And I've just been learning a ton from working with my clients, working closely with them, sharing who I am, who I really am, right? My recovery journey, all this stuff. I've been doing a ton of journaling, working less, spending time outside, connecting with my recovery, reconnecting with like why I do any of the stuff that I do. And yeah, the journey has been like, in February, I shared this story openly with my clients, the beginning of February. And that was like the first level out from just like my inner circle. And what I saw was just tremendous. It instantly increased the quality of our engagement, of our connection, of our ability to go deeper and get to the root issues and like really, really blow things up with their business in a meaningful way. Much more open conversation, much more willingness to go deeper, all this stuff. But it started with me. It started with me sharing openly and honestly about something that I felt like wasn't fit for public consumption. And it's been incredible, and the next part of the journey for me looks like tapping into this, and this video or podcast is the beginning of it. It's tapping into this new fuel, which is this journey that I've been on through my entire life, and really just like recommitting to my recovery as the fuel for what I do in the world and how I'm able to help people and how I'm able to just like, serve. And as soon as I started letting go of this old way of operating, this old like fear-based fuel where the wall was up and it was just about like tiny sliver of your life is your business feeds your life, but there's a big firewall up and there's a lot of fear behind why you would create a business that way. And as soon as I've been able to let that go, it has felt like I've been upgrading to just like a jumbo jet, a much bigger mission, much more clean fuel. The old fuel was like it's like an old Hummer, just like, spewing black smog out or something. And yeah, this new fuel is just like the big lever, the big leverage under everything and leaning into this. So that's been a bit of what the journey has looked like. Yeah. So what else do I have to say? Going forward, I guess what this is going to look like is there's not going to be as much of a barrier between life and business, and they're going to be really the same thing. And my main plan going forward is to just speak openly and honestly and share honestly about who I am and how that affects how I think about the world, how I think about business, how I think about spirituality, health, etc. And just have things be a lot more aligned. And the biggest step is honestly just sharing my story publicly and putting that out there. As a result of this new fuel and like this new space that I'm stepping into, I'm going to be sharing a lot more again. I feel like I have a lot of things I need to talk about, and I'll be sharing here on the podcast and YouTube and on Instagram as well. And yeah, I hope that my story attracts the right people to learn more, to go deeper, and maybe this is an opportunity, if you're sitting here listening to this, to tap into some fuel of your own that maybe you've been avoiding, or you felt like, oh, this isn't fit for public consumption. Or maybe there's just like some important reason that makes you the person that you are, and your business has been siloed away from that. Like you've had this firewall up and you're like, never the two shall meet. So for me, I call it business life integration, maybe just alignment is a better term for it. And bringing everything together in like a much more holistic way. So yeah, I think that's it. That's what I wanted to share today. I hope this resonates with you. If you want to hit me up, you can shoot me an email. Just reply to one of the emails that I send, or richwebster12@gmail.com also works. I will see you all very soon. I have a lot of other things to talk about. I hope this resonated with you. And yeah, take care.